Hey friends, happy Saturday. Today's episode, I got to sit down with Jazmin, who shares her experience about being a working mom and the guilt and responsibility that comes with that. Jazmin also battles depression and finds that her career, family, and mental health is all a balancing act that she's doing her best to manage. I think many moms can relate to Jazmin, and you'll find out why. Let's jump in.
Hi, my name is Jazmin. I am a mother of a wonderful 5-year-old boy. I am divorced, but I am in a serious relationship. Um, I'm also an admissions director for a local hospital here in town.
How long have you been in the medical field?
I finished nursing school in 2015, and then started off as an LPN, like in a nursing home. But now I'm more on the administrative side of healthcare.
How did you make that transition from nursing to administration?
With luck. Yeah, so I was originally kind of like forced into nursing by my family, but it's just I think nurses and all healthcare workers have an amazing job, and they do an amazing job, especially in, today's pandemic. But I just found that like it wasn't the right fit for me, and it takes a certain type of person to be a nurse, and I commend them, but it just wasn't for me. So I was lucky enough to, find my way into the administrative side of healthcare, through connections. But my job now, I absolutely love.
So you became a mom in the midst of being in the medical field and your medical career. What was going back to work like after having a baby?
So I didn't really know what my plans were, like going back to work, because I actually started my first nursing job while I was pregnant, and then I left when I was like close to 9 months. And then I planned on coming back, and I just never did. And I think it took me um, until he was like 2 years old to go back to work. It's hard. It was hard to leave him.
Did you struggle in the beginning? Like emotionally, was it really like even just physically being away from him during the day?
Yes. I was also eating full time. He would not take a bottle. He would not. I tried everything. He just would not. So, he started weaning off. And then I was able to go into work. But, when I first started, like, that was the only thing on my mind. I was just like, oh my God, is he starving? Is he okay? Like, I need to go home. It was rough.
Was there anything that helped you get back into the swing of things after maternity leave, or is it just something where it just takes some time to get used to?
It took some time, honestly, but eventually it got easier to take, my family's help, and at the end of the day, I just had to realize that I had to be working in order to, take care of us. And I was going through a divorce at that time, so I really did have to go to work. I didn't really have a choice.
So the relationship that you're in now, we kind of talked about before, where he stays home with your son most of the time.
Yeah, he did. My son's in kindergarten now, so but before that, he would be with him every day, all day, every day. So I really appreciated that, because that's hard too. Being the stay-at-home parent, that's hard too. It might be even harder, actually.
So one of the things I thought was funny when we originally spoke, I think it was like a pre-interview type of thing, is you had described yourself as being like Angelica's mom in Rugrats, and anybody who's a 90s baby knows who this character is. She always has her ancient cell phone, like the flip kind, but it's only half flip, always attached to her, always on the phone. Do you have any sort of tips for unplugging when you get home? and being able to separate work from leisure?
That's something I'm still trying to manage and figure out myself, because it's hard when you really do have to answer those phone calls, because people are waiting on you, and then there's just the emails. The emails wait, of course, but like the phone calls, I feel like I'm always on the phone, and it sucks to, stop the middle of like your weekend and be like, okay, hold on 1 second, I'll be right there, just I gotta take this call. But I don't know. It's just something that I have to do, and thankfully my family is understanding, and we kind of are used to the way things are. I try to, give my son and my boyfriend, attention, and I try to be present as much as I can, and it's kind of hard because you have to kind of divide yourself. And the calls that I could put off, I do, but there are always those calls that I have to pick up. Like 1 second, I'll be right back.
Do you have a lot of mom guilt that comes with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mom guilt happens every day, and I think it happens like for moms who aren't even working. Mom guilt is just an everyday thing. I don't know why, but it's there. I just feel like maybe we all think that we could do better, or we're just a little hard on ourselves, but I'm sure everyone can relate.
I wonder why mom guilt is such a popular term in society right now, but you never hear of dad guilt.
Yeah. I really,
Like I'm sure dads have it. Like no dad wants to be on the phone versus like playing on the ground with their kids. I get that. But and maybe it's because they don't really talk about it. They're not one to be vulnerable and be like, this really bothers me that I have to divide my time. But society just pushes the mom guilt. You see it everywhere. It's in all these articles, it's all over social media. Mom guilt, mom guilt, mom guilt. Whatever you're doing, it's not good enough.
yeah. Um, I don't know. I think it's something just wired in us. And I don't know, with that but yeah, the mom guilt is real. I just we are a little harder on ourselves, I think, as moms, because we want to be the best that we could be for our kids, and we're always our biggest critics.
Yeah, definitely. I think maybe some of it is just the maternal instinct. Like,
Yeah, I think
there's
that's
that
what it is.
obvious difference between moms and dads when it comes to like being protective or being. And I've actually had this conversation in the last couple of days with a girlfriend. Like, it just doesn't seem like um, being a protective parent is like looked at positively by society anymore. Everybody's like, oh, well, we did that when we were kids and we survived. It's like, that's not what I want for my kid. So I'm cool with being a helicopter parent. But
Yeah,
even my husband is like almost a complete opposite. Like, how is it there's such a huge difference between moms and dads when it comes to that instinct?
I don't even. Yeah, that's so true. Because like moms, I feel like they have like 10,000 more worries on top of everything. And there's always something in the back of our mind that we need to like get to or worry about. And dads, typically they're like, they're fine.
Yeah,
And
they're
they're
alive.
just they're fine. And on top of that, after, all the stress and everything, dads are still able to like have the energy to play with the kids. And I'm just like, where do you get the energy to play?
Because they haven't spent all day in this anxiety induced panic about everything that can go wrong.
Yeah, I would
Whereas
love to.
we're so hard on ourselves. By the end of the day, we're like, kid, I love you, but I do not have
I
the
know.
energy.
Yeah, and I think that's something that, a lot of moms can relate to as well, that sometimes, to be honest, we don't have the energy to like sit down and play with our kids, and it sucks. And I think that's a big part of mom guilt as well, because we want to be this like happy fun mom, but at the same time there's like a, a list of responsibilities and a list of anxieties that's just constantly going.
Right. I saw this meme on social media the other day, and it was like mom life versus dad life. And it was like a little cartoon, just like a little sketch. But the mom had like a bag of fast food and the dad had a bag of fast food. It was like two separate things. For the mom, it was like, oh, she's too lazy to cook dinner. For dad, it was like, oh, he's so fun. He got takeout. And then for like watching TV or like screen time and stuff, for dad, it's like, oh, that's so nice that he's watching a movie with his kid. And then for moms, it's like, oh, she's too lazy to play with her kid. Like there's such a double standard, not even in like mom guilt stuff, just everything that we do, if a man does it, it's viewed differently.
Yeah, the double standard is definitely real.
Yeah.
It's real.
Do you agree or disagree that there's a double standard in the workplace for working parents?
I do. I I don't know if you wanted to get into that article that you were talking about.
Yeah. So last night when I was doing some research, I landed upon this website. It's an organization called AAUW, and I'm not exactly sure what that stands for, but apparently it's like some kind of women's advocate organization. So what I came across was called the motherhood penalty, and I'll just kind of summarize what it says basically, and then I can always post this article if anybody wants to take a look for themselves. So basically it says that there has been research that was done that shows that hiring managers are less likely to hire mothers compared to women who don't have kids. And when employers do make an offer to a mother, they offer her a lower salary than they do other women. So men, by contrast, don't suffer a penalty when they become fathers. And in fact, there's some evidence of a fatherhood bonus, quote unquote, in which their earnings actually increase. So basically, because of this kind of salary gap, and it says that the Census Bureau did some research that found that between 2 years before the birth of a couple's first child and a year after, the earnings gap between opposite sex spouses doubles. And then the gap continues to grow until that child reaches 10. So it narrows after the kid turns 10, but never really disappears completely. And then that's what they call the motherhood penalty. Basically, that there's this like financial disadvantage to being a mom versus being a dad.
I've actually like experienced that firsthand, or I guess witnessed that firsthand. I've conducted like quite a few interviews lately, and in the interviews, I sit down with my boss, who's my higher up, and after the interview, I noticed like that's kind of like a thing that they look for, or like it's a factor at least, whether or not they have kids. For some reason, like it's understandable why they could think that kids like may be like a liability, but at the same time, like it's regular life. It shouldn't be a factor. That doesn't, like, just because a mom has kids doesn't mean like she'll put in any less effort than what she would if she didn't.
Really? Yeah. And I feel like that is even, it's like, that kind of sucks because it's not even being a mom versus being a dad that makes you a good parent.
Yeah.
You can have a mom who is so involved in her job that when she gets a call that her kid is sick, they're like, all right, I'll send the nanny, or, I don't really have time for this today. And then that same school can call the dad and the dad will be like, I'll be right there.
Yeah.
So it really doesn't even matter if you're a mom or not. It doesn't make you like the, I don't know, primary caregiver.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What is your boss's, what are their worries when it comes to hiring moms?
I think what they worry about is, whether or not they'll show up, or, miss out on, work days, having to call off and all that. That's probably their main concern.
Have you had any experience when it comes to the pay difference?
I can't really say because I haven't really interviewed men. But I'm sure it does happen. But another thing, it just sucks that like it happens to me too, like, because I am a mom, I do have those days where I do need a call out for some reason. My kid's sick, or I can't come in for something I have to attend to for him. And I don't like, no one actually makes me feel bad directly, but I automatically feel bad. And I don't know if I'm like conditioned to make myself think that way, but there's that guilt again. There's like workers' guilt now, like mom guilt and workers' guilt.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
We actually talked about this in another episode. I interviewed a private chef who, in that industry, it's pretty much male dominated. And she said basically that she felt like she had to work double to prove her worth.
Yeah.
Because you're always having to put in that extra effort to make sure that people don't view you as like somebody who's going to be flaky or,
Yeah.
you know, not be able to prioritize or whatever. So
I think that's how I felt like coming into the position, because they knew I had a kid, and I did feel like I had like a lot more to prove. Like, I could be here, you don't have to worry, but on the days that I can't be here, I hope you understand.
Right. And it's great to have a boss that maybe it's easier to, do you think it's easier to have a female boss who understands than a male boss, or do you think there's any difference?
I don't think there's been a difference. I actually have a really great boss who does understand, and so I'm fortunate, but I know others are not so fortunate. So, it all depends. I think a woman boss could be just as hard on you.
Yeah. What's the toughest part about being a working mom for you?
I think, just the burnout from like having to work that 9 to 5 and then coming home and again not having that energy to play, or kind of wanting that time to myself. And it I do feel bad about it, and but at the same time I think moms also need to give themselves breaks before they break. I
Mm-hmm.
saw a quote that said that, and it's just so real, because you do have to take care of your mental health, especially when you're trying to have this like a balancing act when you're juggling mom life and work life and your mental health and relationships. It's just one big balancing act that you just gotta try your best at.
Yeah, definitely. Is there anything that you do to cope with it, or do you have something that's just for you?
Um, lately I do struggle with depression, so it's an ongoing battle that I'm trying to get through. I think there are days where you just really do need to unplug, and it's okay to have those days where you literally do nothing or watch TV all day. Like, those days are okay, and I think that's something that moms shouldn't feel bad for, because you do need that break and time to relax.
I feel that way about texting. Like, I don't know if it's because I'm a millennial and we've just kind of grown up with technology and things like that, but I find myself getting so overwhelmed or stressed out by returning texts on days when I'm just like, I can barely show up for myself or my son or my husband. And then now I have to add being social and being a good friend and being a good like
Oh my
relative
god,
and
I
all that, you
completely
know?
forgot about that. Being a friend. Like, I feel
Yeah.
that like wasn't even like a thought in my mind, cuz like honestly, like that gets put on the back burner for sure.
Yeah. Well, and if you have the right friends, they'll understand. Like,
They do. Yeah.
when you're like in your maybe like late teens, like you're 19 and you're out going out with friends who haven't necessarily had kids or settled down with a family or anything
Yeah.
like that, if you
Mhm.
don't respond to a text, it gets taken personally.
Oh yeah, I've been unfriended from that before.
Yeah.
And I was just like, "Oh, well, okay.
Right. Yeah.
I'm
Like,
sorry."
I can be a good friend to you and I'm always here for you if you absolutely need me. But some days I deserve to just be able to unplug. But now that I'm a mom and I have other mom friends, if I don't respond to something, they're like, get back to me when you can. Like, it's not a big
Yeah.
deal. Don't apologize. Don't feel bad. And that's such a great feeling.
Yeah, I think we're at an age now where we all just kind of understand. Like,
Yeah.
it's all just hard. So,
Yeah.
like, keep going. I'm here when you need me.
Yeah. Like, you could have a girlfriend that texts you on a Thursday, is like, hey, what are you doing today? And you don't respond till Sunday. And you're like, oh, just doing chores. And she totally gets it. She's like, all right.
Yeah. I know, like, some of my friends I haven't spoken to, like, in months, but if I needed them, they'd be there.
Yeah, but you're still friends, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But,
We're
like, back
still
when you were
friends.
19, if you didn't respond for months or
Oh,
hit them up, they're like, all right, we're not friends anymore.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I think unplugging just even from your cell phone and not answering texts if you don't have the, like, the mental capacity that day, I think that's a big key when battling depression, is, like, being able to take that time to reset.
Yeah, definitely. I think, and just, like, a lot of moms do struggle with depression, and that in itself is difficult. So, like, it
Yeah.
honestly, if you're waking up and actually getting up, I think that's already a win. And even on the days where you're not getting up, that's okay too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
you're completely entitled to just laying in bed for the day.
yeah.
And you're allowed to, like, feel that emptiness and feel that hole that you feel like you're in. You just can't live there. Like, take your time, be in that hole,
Yeah.
but you got
Yeah.
to come out eventually. And then as soon as you get out of bed, it's like, that's a win. Small
Yeah.
victory.
Yeah, and that's, like, something that I've, just realized recently. And, I've come a long way with my depression, and I feel like it's gonna go away someday. I know it.
How does your depression affect you in the workplace?
You know what? Honestly, in the workplace, it's not really there. And it's kinda weird. I think it's because, like, I'm so busy, I don't have the time.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if, like, that makes it to where when I get home, it's amplified. I'm not sure, but, that kinda sucks. That part of it sucks.
Yeah. Do you feel like it's not really there because it's a distraction, or because at work you can't really let yourself be depressed? You know what I mean? So you have to,
Yeah.
like, kind of put on a happy face for work. Then by the time you get home, then you're allowed to be in your natural state, and maybe that
Yeah,
just feels exhausting.
I think so. Yeah, it's almost like I'm a great actress. Like, they they don't even know that side of me. And then at the end of the day, it's just like, "And scene."
Right? It's like taking off your bra at the end of the day.
Yeah.
What do you think professional mothers can do to manage their time better?
Um, Honestly, maybe I don't even know. I'm so unorganized. I'm just winging it. But I'm sure, like, find out what works best for you, make a schedule if you need to. Um I really do need to make a schedule for myself, but life happens, and sometimes dinner doesn't get started until 7:30. So it is what it is.
Has parenthood taught you any skills that you use at work?
Yes. There are a few ladies that I work with that I honestly have to treat as toddlers. They do throw tantrums, and sometimes you just have to baby them and, let them know it's going to be okay. You're okay. So, yeah, I think it's taught me how to be more patient with people.
Did you struggle any more than usual with depression during the pandemic?
Yes, I went batshit crazy. I would, like, pick apart at everything, and, like, things that went wrong that were little things just felt like enormous things. And um, my boyfriend and I had just started living together when the pandemic hit. So that was a roller coaster in itself. Like, he just, kind of got stuck with, like, this crazy, stir crazy side of me, and just all the mental health problems and all the depression and all the crazy came out. But he still chose to stick around. So,
That's good. That's one way to throw you out of that honeymoon phase right into real,
oh,
reality.
yeah.
Does he have any experience with depression or anything, or was being with you like his firsthand experience, like trying to support you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this was his first experience, and it definitely has taken a lot of learning. It takes a lot of patience to love somebody with depression, and you do have to learn their love language and kind of learn when to, you know, um, give them space when they need it, and not be so hard on them when they're like already falling apart. And sometimes you just have to be a little more patient with them. And I think now he understands me better. And especially when it's like that time of the month, it's funny because we have one of those whiteboard calendars, and then in the corner, he wrote 3-8, and I never knew what it was. And then I recently found out that he was tracking when I would be on my period, so he would know. Otherwise, we'd both be crazy. Like, what's wrong with her?
That sounds like a keeper.
Yeah, I was like, is that what that's for? I never knew what it was.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
More men should pay attention to that stuff.
Yeah, honestly, they should. It would probably save a lot of energy, a lot of fights.
Yeah. Especially because usually, like, the emotion and, like, the high energy and the overwhelming comes before you even start.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you don't know that it's coming up or you haven't been paying attention and you're crying over, like, a commercial, it would be handy to have somebody who tracks that for you. Like, this is why you're upset.
Yeah. He's very smart.
What advice do you have for working moms who are also battling depression?
Again, just be kind to yourself, take it easy. I know the guilt is never going to stop, and you might never stop feeling bad about things that you shouldn't have to feel bad for. But just remember to be kind to yourself, take that time for yourself, and take care of your mental health, because at the end of the day, your family needs you to be okay, and that's how you're going to be the best mom you could be, is to make sure that you're okay.
Yeah, I heard a quote that said something about you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yes.
And I've never really understood, like, the intensity of that quote until I became a mom and had somebody who was relying on me to get through the day.
And, there have been days where, you did have to pour from an empty cup. We're like negative liquid.
That cup is bone dry.
Yeah, I don't know what we're pouring, but we're still trying.
It's like a little kid's, like, tea party where you're just pouring and there's nothing in there. You just keep dumping this empty kettle.
Yeah, that's what it is. We're just, just keep going with the tea party, and it's okay. It'll be okay.
Yeah, and hope the sun rises tomorrow.
Which it will. Don't forget that it will.
It will. Tomorrow's a new day.
Yes, it is.
All right. Well, thank you for sitting down with me. I really appreciate it. I know you have a busy schedule, and I would hate to take away any free time that Angelica's mom may have.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And I really enjoyed being on here, and I think your podcast will reach a lot of women who need it. And it's nice to know that, we're not alone.
Definitely. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. That concludes another episode of the Pink Plus podcast. Did you find something with Jazmin that you related to? I know I sure did. Don't forget to follow the show on Instagram at Pink Plus Podcast. And if you listen on Apple Podcasts, please leave a review. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Catch you next time.